All right, everybody, welcome to Jon Ferrian Live. Here we are, 2020 now. Wow, it's January 5th, 2020. This, I believe, is our first episode of 2020, and I am excited to have all of you here join us. So who is going to be rolling in? I see some thumbs up rolling in. Let's drop it in the comments where you're watching from tonight so we know who's watching and where you're watching from. So we've got Tia Smith coming in. We got Joe Labernick coming in. Awesome. Lots of cool folks rolling in one more time. And tonight, we're going to educate you. What we do every week, right? But tonight especially, we're going to talk about avalanche equipment. So beacons, shovels, probes, airbags, you name it. We'll go through some of the basics and go through some differences tonight and get through all of it. So a little background on Jon Ferrian Live and what's going on. So we hit play April of 2018. So I don't know, 1 year, 2/3 of a year. We're getting, close. We're over a year and a half now. April will be 2 years of the show. And every week we come to you on Sunday night, just bringing you awesomeness from the sled industry. Lots of great people. And so as you're dropping in the comments, again, right now you're dropping in the comments, letting us know where you're watching from. We'd love to know if you're watching from the East Coast, the West Coast, from Canada, where you're watching. And as you're watching, guys, share and win, right? So every week, we've got the share and win contest. So last week we had this t-shirt up here. I'm actually going to extend this for another week. We had a great show last week, and we're going to take this and we're going to wrap this up this week as well, too. With the holidays going on, both Fly and Woody's, I'm going to give them a little breather room to catch up. And so we're actually going to go 2 weeks with this particular prize. And we're going to give away this Action jersey from Fly Racing. How do you win it? All you got to do is watch the show, share the show, and you can share it to your personal page. You can share it to your favorite club page. You can share it to your favorite, like 2.0, sledders, riders, all those cool places you can share that thing out. And then just let your friends know why you're watching and why they should watch. Make sure you're following Fly Racing Snow on both Facebook and on Instagram. And that we'll get to that too. So I'm really excited tonight to bring you guys Cade Beck. So I'm going to unveil Cade here now in 3, 2, and 1. So I've got Mr. Cade Beck from Snow Big Deals in the house. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, John. Thanks. How you guys doing? How's everybody out there?
Awesome. We've got folks from all over, Cade. Check this out. I'm going to read you some of these places people are from. We've got Minnesota. We've got Nebraska. We've got Northern New York State. We got Phoenix, Arizona. We've got Southern California. We've got Minnesota, Colorado, Washington. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. The Great White North. Mike Moore, he's up in British Columbia. We got all kinds of folks excited to watch you and come in tonight and talk to us. So again, Cade, you and I go back a long time. I'm going to share with these guys a little bit of my memory of how I first met you and how we first started building a relationship. And I don't even know if I know the exact year or not, but I'm going to make a quick guess here. I think it was originally Mike Duffy was a friend of yours and a friend of mine I was starting to build back in probably around 2009-ish.
I was going to say 2009, yep.
Yeah, about 2009. And I don't remember exactly how it came to be, but I remember that you were in need. This was the early days of Snow Big Deal coming to heydays in Minnesota. And I lived in Minnesota, and me and my good buddy Zach Hansen, who watches the show regularly also, Zach. Zach's a good guy.
I know Zach. Zach's a great guy.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And he's in Wyoming now, so he's not too far from you. But Zach and I actually came and worked your booth at Heydays one year. And
that's right, yep.
Yeah, to me, that was the beginning of this long relationship we've had that's literally about 10 years now I've known you. And it was very quickly after that, I think that next year, we worked it out. I don't know if I asked or you invited or what. I'm really good at inviting myself. That's probably what happened. So
it worked out.
But we came out and we rode with you back in 2010 in Utah where you guys live. So why don't you guys give these guys a little bit of a background of like who you are, as far as where you live, what's going on. And then right after that, we'll go into kind of the origins of Snow Big Deals. But, really honored to have you on, Cade. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah, hey, thanks. I really appreciate you having me on here, John. It's great to, we've had a great friendship. And yeah, Mike Duffy was a big driver to help get us to go to heydays and have you work. So yeah, it's been a great relationship. So we're right in the middle of central Utah, a little tiny town called Mount Pleasant. Great riding. Sometimes we take off out of our driveway and head to the mountains, and we don't have to trailer anywhere. So I love living here, and having Snow Big Deals allowed me to do that. I could kind of live wherever I wanted with it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and you've got a pretty expanded family there. I mean, the Snow Big Deal family, the Beck family, is pretty broad. You've got brothers in the area, your mom and dad are in the area, and that's kind of a fun story. I know you want to go into kind of like how did Snow Big Deal come to be? Because I'm thinking, for me personally, I think of what's been going on in the industry, and also not only in I'm a retail guy. I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but I've spent most of my career working retail of some kind or another. I did 18 years with Walmart, and now I've been another almost 10 years with T-Mobile. So two pretty giant companies in the retail world. And just tracking even what's going on between storefronts and online business. From my perspective, you guys were one of the forefront, the forerunners in getting out there and doing online business, especially for this kind of product. And so how did that happen? Give us the rundown. What's the story?
Yeah. Well, it is.
Came to be.
Yeah, it's kind of a family business. My dad we've been a while, and I believe it was like 1997. My dad had one of the old analog Ortovox avalanche beacons he had for himself, and he was trying out this eBay. We put this Ortovox avalanche beacon out on eBay, and it sold like that same day. He's like, man,
Right.
I think I'd be able to sell these things. And he's always been in retail business. He has a small furniture store here in town. So I think the vendors thought it was weird that a furniture store wanted to sell avalanche beacons. But he started so we got set up with, I don't know if everybody remembers the old SOS F1ND analog beacons. So he started selling those on eBay. So really my dad kind of started all this, but it was just under, the name of the furniture store. And then I came along in early 2000, maybe 2001, started putting avalanche beacons on eBay. He got set up with BCA. So Backcountry Access has been huge. We've been with them since 1998.
Nice.
And so started avalanche beacons out on eBay. And then it kind of grew from eBay, and I started tinkering with how to build a website, got to put them on our website. And it's just grown from there. It's been a lot of I was going to college, in the back of my Blazer, I had a Chevy Blazer, and that was my warehouse. I'd go to class, and I'd had a website. Somebody would buy a avalanche beacon on eBay or on my website, and in between classes, I'd run into the bookstore and ship it out. So it's grown from that. I don't have the back of my Chevy Blazer as a warehouse anymore. So it's been a fun time growing.
And so you said, I want to make sure I heard you right. You said it was around 98 is when that first started happening?
Yeah, so 97 was SOS, and 98 we got signed up with Backcountry Access, and I think they were blown away. Like, what is a furniture store wanting to do selling avalanche beacons? But that's where we started, in the back of a furniture store.
Yeah, well, and that's cool. And I've been to you guys' furniture store. It's pretty cool. Like I said to guys, this is small town America, legit. Like you roll into town, there's barely a restaurant in town. There's barely a hotel. I think this last summer, I'm like, hey, Cade, is there a hotel nearby? And we're kind of like, yeah, no, there's like one hotel in town.
We do have a stoplight. One.
It's awesome. And so that's what I love about this is, it's kind of the American dream, right? It's like, you just get a little bit of ingenuity, a little creativity, and God bless America, we got the internet, right? And here we are selling stuff out of the back of your truck, out of the back of a furniture store. And the first time I visited you in 2010, I remember the shop, the Snow Big Deal shop, was still in the back of the furniture store. Like you could walk out front and people were selling furniture and people were shopping. And then in the back of the store, it was the warehouse, and you guys were always busy pulling in orders, processing orders, shipping stuff out, checking in inventory as it would come, and then shipping it out again. It's pretty cool stuff. So
yeah, so we've gone from that to now. I think we're about a 6,000 square foot warehouse here in small town Mount Pleasant. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's basically my dad. He started. I came on board, and then my brother Brian. He and I work here every day together, working on this and trying to keep the orders coming in, going out, and keeping customers happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And let's go a little bit off of the track here and go back to kind of talk about like how did you and or your dad and you guys start getting into snowmobiling? Was it something that your dad was doing when you were born and you just kind of got pulled into it, or how did just give us a little background on how did you and or your family get into snowmobiling to begin with?
Well, so my dad's been snowmobiling. I mean, before I was born, he used to race oval tracks. I probably need to find out more about that, but he did oval track racing all around the country. So I've been on a snow since pretty much the day I was born. So
That's awesome.
it's just been a family passion. We love snowmobiling, and I mean, honestly, the Fairview, Utah Skyline Drive area, it's got some of the best riding in the country, and I love it here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so, do you have, a memory of kind of what point avalanche awareness and equipment became a thing with your dad and your family? Was it, from the time you can remember, or was there a specific incident with your family that was like a close call maybe that drove your dad to be like, hey, we need to start buying some avalanche safety equipment and let's figure this out? So, what do you
Yeah,
remember?
well, there was talk about it, avalanches going on, that just kind of the general awareness was starting to happen. I got an avalanche beacon for himself and for my, I believe it was my uncle and just some local friends. But then there was a pretty big event just right up the canyon here, right up from home in January of 1998. One of my friends actually caught, buried, and killed in an avalanche.
Oh,
So my dad and I grabbed the stuff from the store, went up with the search and rescue, and unfortunately, we helped uncover his body. He'd been buried for quite a while, but um, that was a pretty big event for me. And I still remember coming back talking to my dad, and we said, we got to push this stuff. And he was thinking that we need to get more people outfitted. So that was a pretty big event. It was Woody Dykes that died in the avalanche here up in Pleasant Creek.
okay, okay.
So
So I've got
that was kind of the big drive right from the beginning to get us to really focus on this.
Yeah. So I've got some feedback from some folks here in the comments saying there's a big delay on my side. And so I've actually got a feature here. I'm going to adjust this. So I just changed my delay from like a 10-second delay to a 5-second delay to see if that makes a difference. And so William Singer, if I'm talking now and it's a little better, just give me a confirmation there, right? Type that out, but we'll keep going along the way. But so Cade, yeah, I mean that's a pretty common theme I've found with this show is people that I've talked to that have gotten involved in things like avalanche education or the business that you're in, for example. There's usually some kind of a pretty significant event that includes either a close call or, unfortunately, in your case, a death of a friend that really got people inspired and intrigued into taking action and kind of pushing for change out there. And sounds like your situation is no different. And I bet you could look back now, though, this many years later, and I would hope by now you've heard enough positive stories of some of the equipment that you have saving people's lives in those near death, scenarios. Do you have one or two that maybe stand out over the years of some stories that were shared back with you on products that you guys sold?
I don't have names. I mean, it happens probably every year, right? We get somebody to call and say, "Hey, I was wearing this airbag and it saved my life." Caleb Timberlake,
Oh yeah.
that was when he was caught in an avalanche in Colorado, and he had an ABS pack on that he got from us. So that's one. I think that might be 10, 2011. I don't remember what year that was, but yeah, every year I get people who thank us for help getting this product out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even myself, my very, very first ever avalanche pack that I bought was a BCA Float 30. It was the very first year, the very
Yep.
first it came out, and I actually bought it from you at Heydays, along with my first Beacon Shovel Probe. About that 2009-ish time frame, because I think it was 2007 and 2008. I rode with Zach and some other folks early on, in about 2009 when I got to know you a little bit better, and I met with Duffy at Heydays, and he was sharing a booth with you, I think, at the time a little bit. I remember we ended up buying some gear with you guys when you were there at that time. So
Yeah, I remember the first float 30s. You and Zach both got them. I think we tested it out on the hill. So
yep. Oh, we
yeah,
did actually. If you guys actually, that's a fun memory. I almost forgot about that. Is if you go to my YouTube page just under Jon Ferrian, and you go in there and type in "float 30 avalanche bag," you'll actually see me recording my buddy Zach riding a sled and pulling the airbag as it came down the hill, and it actually got quite a few hits in the day. It's a couple thousand, I think maybe 3,000-4,000 hits or something like that. It got on it over time,
yeah.
but
So
that,
yep.
old now at this point.
Yeah, and that was actually, I mean, we've been selling the ABS brand airbags for several years before that. We'd fly the packs over from Germany, and I mean, we've been selling avalanche airbags since I believe 2004. I mean, and they weren't really even heard of back then.
Yeah. And so, Cade, let's kind of start real high level, and then we'll kind of go into each of the categories. But I just want to make sure that I'm not off cue here. Is, we're prepared to talk tonight about, avalanche airbag packs. Give me a thumbs up. Yep.
Yep.
All right. So beacons, we'll be able to talk.
Yep.
Beacons.
Got some beacons sitting here. Yep.
All right. And we can probably go maybe not as deep, but just real quick through like shovels and probes. Is that?
I got some shovels and probes, and then a huge safety device I think are the radios. It doesn't have to be the BCA radio, but the BC Link radios are great. So yeah, we can talk about those for a second.
Cool. And so, let's just go into, which category do you want to hit first? I'll give you the choice of which category you want to hit first. And then what I'll do is I'll start with what are the brands that you're selling of that category? What do you want to hit first? You want to hit bags?
Let's jump into airbags. That's kind of what we get the most questions about airbags, and then we can talk about some beacons for a minute.
Yeah, and it's probably at this point one of folks' biggest investments, right? Is the airbag pack. I mean, they range, at least from what I see, retail prices on the very low end, probably closer around $400 or $500. By the time you add in an air cylinder, but they can easily go up to over $1,000, if not closer to $1,500 if some of the packs now or more.
Yeah, anywhere from $500 to $1,500. So there's anywhere in between, and there's a lot of different features. Why is one only $400 and one's $1,000? So
okay, and I know in our testing, Cade, when I was talking and you weren't wearing your headphones, there was an echo there, and so I'm just going to let everybody know now as we're going through the show, as Cade needs a little bit more mobility, I'm actually going to turn the show kind of over to him and let him talk some more about the airbags and stuff that are going there too. And so, Cade, the floor is yours. I'm actually, as you're doing this, I might fiddle with my settings a little bit. I think I have the option to give you more of a full screen view, so you got plenty of room there to do your thing. And I'm going to put myself up in the corner and a minimize. I've never done that yet, but I'm going to play at that and see if I can make that work while you go. So turn it over to you. Why don't you walk us through the pros and cons of some of the different airbags and maybe some of the recommendations that you have for folks.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to hook my headset. We'll hope for the best here.
All right.
You can still see me out right there?
Yep, and I think I got you on screen right now. I'm down to the lower right-hand corner on your desk. If that's the best spot, or you tell me where you want me to put myself.
Wherever you want. I'll just try to stay right here in the middle.
Yeah, you stay in the middle, and I'm in the lower right corner, so I'm over the desk right now.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start with, we've carried ABS airbags for the longest. That's who kind of invented the avalanche airbag.
Your head is cut, though, just so you know, you're going to have to come down.
I'm so tall here.
That's better.
Okay. So the ABS packs, we've carried them the longest. They've been around forever. The biggest benefit, I would say, of the ABS pack is they have the dual airbag. So there's an airbag that comes out each side of the pack. Total airbag capacity is about 170 liters. So one thing I want to make sure people understand is on the airbag, the size of the airbag doesn't really change between manufacturers. So if you see something that says it's a float 15 versus a float 35, that has nothing to do with the size of the airbag. That's all to do with how much storage capacity the airbag has. So, John, when we were talking about the float 30, that means that airbag has about 30 liters of storage capacity in the pack. So, if somebody wants to carry a lot of stuff on their bag, look for a float, a 25 liter or a 30 liter. Or if you're just a minimalist, you can take, a float 12 or a 15 that'll be how much storage stuff you have on your back. So back to the ABS. This is the ABS powder, extremely lightweight. They're going away from the ABS powder. There's several different brands, but like I say, 2 airbags on the ABS pack. The one thing about the ABS, let me grab a canister. It does require a canister to operate. It's a nitrogen canister. It requires a canister and a trigger. So once you use this canister, the trigger is a one-time use trigger and the canister is a one-time use canister. Once you did it, you're going to need to actually send that canister back to us, and we can refill it. Well, we send it off to Canada to get refilled, but you're not going to be able to use the trigger or the canister again until it gets refilled. So kind of a drawback a little bit. The canisters, they're like $59 to get them refilled. It is compressed nitrogen, so it doesn't fluctuate with the temperature like some of the others, but little bit of a headache to get them refilled. So that's the ABS brand. Like I say, dual airbag, and it's the ABS makes a really nice pack. We've been with BCA for a long time, since they started making the tracker DTS beacon. So I'm going to go on the BCA airbags next. The BCA packs, they also use a canister. I'll back up here so my head's not cut off.
There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. So BCA uses a canister as well. This is the new tow canister. So for people who have the original float packs, the canister is about this much bigger, weighs a little bit more. So this uses compressed air. You can get it filled up, use dry compressed air. You're probably not going to be able to fill it with your air compressor at home, but a scuba shop, a paintball shop, maybe even a local fire department. If you're in a small town like Mount Pleasant, Utah, you'd be able to get it filled up at the fire department. They fill up to about 2,700 to 3,000 PSI. We've seen them operate. If you check your canister, we've seen them operate down to about 1,500 PSI, but we recommend keeping it in the green at air temperature. Once that canister gets cold, the pressure will actually drop in the canister, but I wouldn't worry about it. If it's in the green at room temperature, you should be fine. But every time you go out riding, check your gauge on your canister, make sure it's full.
Yeah, a couple of things. Didn't put until like at the end of the season. I went to test deploy it because I hadn't checked the gauge and stuff, and it gave me just kind of a fizzle. Blew it up. Well, the other thing I was asking, what's your using high pressure paint pumps that are designed for paintball guns to be able to do it at home? You know, what's your thoughts on that professionally? So.
Yeah, I mean, we try to fill them up with the dry compressed air from scuba tanks. That's what we try to use. But we've got to buy one of those bicycle pumps. It's sitting here in the office. And yeah, you can do that too. You're definitely going to get a workout trying to pump up your canister with the bike pump. But yeah, that's one way. That's a free refill if you get the bike pump.
Well, and the quick question, the concern sometimes is, by doing it without the quote unquote dry air, what have you ever heard of the issue or the risk of the air freezing, if there's moisture in the air potentially freezing and malfunctioning? And have you ever heard of all these years of selling the products, have you heard of that actually truly being an issue, or is that more of a myth? I
don't know I'm not Mythbuster, so I'm not going to say if it's a myth or not. We haven't had any complaints that, my canister froze. I think by doing it without, there is the risk of getting moisture in the canister. So there is a risk of that, but I've not seen that happen anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'll specific recommendation. I'll share my personal experiences. I use a manual pump like that here at home, but one thing I'll share with you is that here in the Pacific Northwest, our riding days are much warmer, and there's a lot lower risk of like negative temperatures that would cause the canister to freeze up like that. We ride at, a lot of times it's in the 30s and the 20s. It barely gets below ever up here, like out riding.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to be filling it up with a hand pump and then you leave your canister in the back of your truck and it gets down 20 below, there's that potential. So you'll want to watch for that.
Thanks for the tips.
So BCA. So there's a couple different packs. Like I said, this is a float 22 pack, and this is a float 15 pack. That's just referring to the storage capacity of the backpack. So if you see, BCA makes a snowmobile specific, they call it a turbo. Really what that does is it gives you a shovel storage pouch on the outside of the pack. Okay, and then the trigger is on your right-hand shoulder. Okay, so as you put this pack on, if you can see the trigger on the right-hand shoulder,
the idea of that, if you are in an avalanche, you trigger a slide, you can keep your right hand on the throttle, reach across your chest and pull with your left hand. I don't know if that, marketing thing or not, but that's the general idea. I believe this pack you can also switch which side if you wanted to switch the side the trigger's on. BCA has done a great job of being able to integrate. I don't know if you can see. Can you see this far away over here or not?
Yeah, I can. It's hard to see.
Yeah, so you can integrate your BC Link radios right into the shoulder strap of the backpack. The BC Link radios are awesome for keeping group communication, knowing where people are at. Just the more you communicate as a group, the less, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely.
So, again, the weight-wise, I should have brought my scale out here. They're very comparable. All the packs are pretty comparable nowadays. The vests are a little bit heavier with the vest. So if you want to go with the vest route, but you don't notice the weight because it distributes across your body a little bit better. So speaking of vests, this is the BCA Mountain Pro Float Vest, and this is the 2.0. One thing they really did a great job on is increasing the ventilation. People were getting a little bit of complaints that they spend a lot of money on a nice coat or jacket and covered up with the vest, and they're not able to get any airflow or ventilation. So BCA increased the ventilation of this pack. It's also dual purpose. Basically, it's a built-in tech vest, so you don't take handlebars to the chest. Put this pack on here. It's got the kitty belt. And you can zip it up here. Then you got the built-in chest protection on there, so you don't take handlebars to the ribs. Again, the trigger handle here on your right shoulder.
Yeah, it's the setup. That's the general. I had bought one of those, and I had ridden, I think, 3, maybe 4 seasons with that, and it was a great vest. And I agree with you that it's a little heavier, but it distributes the weight way better. And it's the chest protector is a big benefit. Over the years now, you can see the pockets on there are much bigger than they used to be. The one I had, the pockets were much smaller, but now you got more room in the front. And only this year, finally make a switch over to Highmark from Snow Pulse, which I know you'll get to in a few minutes. And I've been wearing that now this season, and I'm pretty excited about that one. Or I'll share some details later on.
Okay, yeah. So the pockets are great. You can hook your beacon onto this D-ring here. Put your beacon in this pocket here. The BCA float packs are very comfortable, and that chest protection is awesome.
Nice. The chest taking quite a few, whether it be handlebars, tree branches, or stuff. Man, it's nice having that for extra protection. So. Oh,
for sure. Nothing that doesn't completely ruin the season, but it makes it a lot more uncomfortable with some broken or bruised ribs.
I know way too many guys that didn't wear packs like that had broken ribs over the years, and it's always avoidable if you get something with chest protection in it. So
yeah. So those are kind of BCA packs. A couple of things you want to look for if you want an outside shovel storage. Go with the Float Turbo. They have a Float 15 Turbo and a Float 25 Turbo. If you just want a little bit light, they have the Float 12. Good luck finding one. There's not many left in the U.S. right now. I believe they're sold out of Float 12s, but there's a Float 22, 32, and a 42. So you can fit the kitchen sink in the back of the 42 if you want.
Nice. I've got a quick question. What does the BCA pack cost? Generic question, but what's the price range from the Pro Vest down to the cheapest pack on the BCA stuff specifically? Somebody's asking about.
Okay, so I should have looked up the prices beforehand. I believe the float pack, the retail price is $7.99, and then you have to add a canister. So every pack requires a canister. Usually those are sold separate. So if you're buying one online, check the listing, or you're buying it from on Facebook or wherever to see if it comes with a canister or not. So the vest runs $9.99 is the retail price with the vest and the canister. I believe the Float 12 runs about $6.50 by the time you get the pack and the canister.
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay, so Snow Pulse, I love the Snow Pulse packs. I think they're very well designed, very comfortable packs. There's the Snow Pulse actually has two different types of airbags in the backpacks. So one looks like a pillow. They call it the RAS, or the removable airbag system. It looks like the BCA float packs. It's just one kind of a square or rectangular pillow that comes out the top of the pack. So this is the Snow Pulse Ridge Pack. It is extremely comfortable and a lightweight backpack, but it has it doesn't, some people have seen Snow Pulse that have the horseshoe shape that comes up around the head. So the Ridge does not have that. So if you're looking at Snow Pulse and the trauma protection is something that's important to you, look for one. It's called, I believe it's called the protection airbag system. So what that has is, I don't know if you can see this pack or not, the airbag is actually packed into the shoulder straps of the airbag.
Okay.
Well, I didn't do a good job of taking this one out. And so once you deploy the airbag on this one, you have a giant horseshoe that comes up and surrounds your entire head. So that's called I believe the Snow Pulse Pro. So if you see a Snow Pulse Pro pack, Mammut has the same thing. It's either an RAS, which is the square pillow, or the PAS, which is the protection airbag meant for trauma. So the two Snow Pulse packs. Snow Pulse also has two different vests. Oh, well, I'm talking about vests. Sorry, I'm going to jump back to the BCA. The BCA Mountain Pro Float Vest comes in two sizes. It's either a medium/large, which that's what I was wearing, or there's a extra large/2 extra large. So there's just two different sizes of vests you can get for BCA.
So can you speak in just high-end generalities, like an average woman's build versus an average men's build? Most women are probably going to end up with that smaller pack. Is that the case, I'm assuming?
Yeah, most women end up with that smaller vest. The torso length is adjustable, so you can move where the waist strap goes. Most women are going to be on that one. A lot of women really like the Float 12 pack from BCA this year, the ABS powder. More women are really liking those smaller packs, medium large.
So let's get here. Question that's been asked to me quite a few times, and I'm just curious if it's come across you, is, women obviously are built different than men, and a lot of times the vests, there's complaints about them not fitting well and or being comfortable because of their breasts. And so do you get that question regularly? Do you get feedback regularly of, a backpack versus a pro vest? And, what do you recommend if women bring up that concern about it being more comfortable?
Usually, the vests probably aren't as comfortable among the women. It's just the smaller, shorter length torso packs have been the most popular. Ortovox actually made a women's specific Ortovox free ride pack, women's version. So, being an online retailer, it's hard for me to say, well, go try it on. But really, an airbag, you want to try it on and make sure it's comfortable, because if you get a pack that's not comfortable and you end up leaving it in because you don't like how it feels, it's not going to do you any good at all. So, make sure you get one that's comfortable.
Absolutely.
So if you do happen to buy online, buy from us, and if you get it on, if it's not comfortable, send it back, because we want you to be in one that is comfortable.
Perfect.
So Snow Pulse has two different vests. They have the Charger vest. Okay, the Charger vest is very similar to the BCA vest. See if I can put that one on. It's got the front zipper. Okay, it's got the built-in chest protection here. And then it has the airbag pillow that comes out the back. So very similar, just it's a Snow Pulse vest instead of the BCA vest. And then I personally have been with the Spire vest the past year. I really like it. This is the Snow Pulse Spire vest. It has optional chest protection if you want. The thing I like about this one, it does have that protection airbag system, which is the horseshoe shape that goes up around your head. So you put this on and model for you. Don't know if this airbag is going to make me look better or not, but the airbag is packed into the shoulder straps. So if you were to deploy it, the airbag comes out around your shoulder. The trigger here is on your right shoulder again, so you can pull with your left hand.
Yeah, and just to here is that the BCA and the Snow compressed air and typically can be refilled locally near you, whereas the ABS packs are the ones that you have to ship in to get recharged. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. Yeah, I can show you the Snow Pulse canister, but yeah, BCA, the newer Ortavox packs, the Snow Pulse packs, they all are compressed air at approximately 3,000 psi. Minus maybe 200 or 300, but yeah, compressed air. You can get it filled locally.
Yeah, and I just want to share with you that the pack that you just had on, the Spire Vest, is the one that I ultimately chose to go with as well. And it really was based on your recommendation. Guys, I mean, everybody who's watching is, my view of this in the scenario is, Cade's a good friend of mine. I trust him. I know he's going to steer me in the right direction. And I asked him, I go like, hey, Cade, what do you ride with and why? And he pointed me at the Spire Vest. And ultimately the decision I made was around, yes, the protection that goes all the way around, the trauma protection. So you've got some extra protection if something happened from, if you hit trees or rocks or anything, if you were caught in an avalanche. And then the other part, gosh, it is really comfortable. I've been wearing it now. I've got 15 days, ride days in already for this season, and I've been wearing that pack exclusively. And it is many, many days I'm riding with it. And it's, it's not light when you fill it up with stuff, but when you're wearing it, like, I forget I'm wearing it most days. Like, people are like, oh yeah, what about your new pack? And oh yeah, I'm wearing this, right? I don't even realize it sometimes because it does fit so comfortable. And just as a comparison, I rode with the BCA Pro Vest, the Generation 1 before. I haven't had a chance to ride with the BCA, the new version, the one that's more ventilated and that kind of thing. But I've been really happy with it so far. And another thing I'll share with you about the Spire Vest is the material that it's made of on the front. Is I made a boo-boo myself the other day as I was lifting the trailer door in the back of my trailer up. I caught the corner of a sharp edge on my vest, and I drug it across there, and I thought for sure, like, oh crap, I just shredded my vest, my new vest. And I looked, and there was like a line across it. It was scratching a little bit, and a teeny little nick. I don't, the material on it actually really durable and held up really well. I was impressed. So.
Yeah, I like the Snow Pulse pack, and I mean, I could kind of pick anyone I ride with. And my brother, he and I work here together every day. He actually prefers the BCA Mountain Pro Float Vest. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with the vest. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all.
Real quick, I'll just show you here. Here's the Snow Pulse canister. That one's full. It's actually just touching the blue, but that's the Snow Pulse canister. The Snow Pulse canister will actually work in the Mammut airbag packs as well. So you have a different one for Mammut versus Snow Pulse. If you deploy the canister, what happens is, let's see if you can see this or not. It punctures. There's a little copper disc here that gets punctured. So to refill it, just grab a crescent wrench. You can take this top off, and then you can put a new puncture disc on there, tighten it back up, and then fill it at it takes a paintball fitting. So don't fill it with CO2 though. You want to fill it with compressed air.
Yep.
Okay, so those are kind of the compressed air or the canister packs. One thing that's really kind of taken off this year and last year especially are the new battery powered avalanche packs. Yeah. So I've got one here. So this is the Climb avalanche airbag. Okay. This is the Aspect pack. I better make sure I got it turned on. So what this Climb pack is it has a capacitor in there which stores the energy for to be used in a real quick amount of time. Let me find the zipper here and see if I can show you. So there's the system. So instead of using a canister, the Climb airbag, which uses the outright system, the capacitor is in here. You plug it in and charge it up. You want to make sure you get it fully charged. And then you just put two AA batteries in the pack here itself. That's to keep it charged. That's to keep the charge on the pack, on the capacitor. Okay. Turn the pack on. And I turned it on right before the show, and the green light is blinking here. I don't know if you can see a green light blink or not. So that's saying I got full battery power and it's ready to go. The nice thing about this is you don't have to go get your canister refilled. You can travel with this backpack. So one thing about the air can, say you're going to fly somewhere to go snowmobiling. If you're taking your canister, you're going to have to prove to TSA that it's empty for you to take it. And you can't fly with the ABS canisters. You just can't fly in the United States with them. So I'll zip this up here. We'll put the pack on, and I can even do a demo deployment for you. It has a fan in there, and that capacitor drives that fan. So here we go. Okay, so now if I want to deploy this again, I can let the air out of it, pack it back in, and check my license. I'll probably be able to get another pull out of this just off of that initial charge, and then leaving those AA batteries in.
Yeah, no, I've heard 4 or 5 charges or blow-ups on one battery charge if you needed to in an emergency. But a couple things I'll call out here is 2 things. Is the fact that you don't have to right away go get another canister, that you could, head back to the trucks and still feel like you have safety there and you're not missing your airbag. That's a great asset. I think once somebody's been in an avalanche, typically they're not looking to continue to ride today if they're smart about it, right? They just they're shaking up, clear, they're heading back home and calling it a day. That's usually the smart one, what they do. And then I'll call it out is that a rechargeable pack like this doesn't give you the right and the excuse to just go be stupid, right? Avalanche awareness, training, education, all of this stuff is, this is the best $1,000 you're going to spend that you're never going to use if you're doing your stuff right? Get the education, get the training. This stuff is like airbags in your car. You're not going to go run into a brick wall just to make your airbag go off and have fun, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, education needs to come first. If you wouldn't go climb on that hill or play in that area without a beacon, without an airbag, you shouldn't go be doing it with a beacon and an airbag. Learn to recognize avalanche terrain. Don't get caught. This is just, this is the seatbelt in case something bad happens. Yeah.
No, exactly. All of these toys are like eye candy, and we lose track of the fact of like, you guys, all of this is a goal of buying this stuff and never having to use it, right? Like, it's the goal. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you say, you deploy it because you were, in an avalanche and now you got to go back. Yeah, I don't see people riding after that, but I have been with several people, we're out getting their snowmobile unstuck and they catch their trigger on their handlebars, they deploy their airbag, and now they're out for that whole day. Whereas with the new battery powered ones, you can just repack it and go.
Yep, that's a good point.
So I will say, I think you can get in trouble with these packs if you're not careful. If you charge this pack up and then you just leave it charged up and don't put AA batteries in it, or same thing with checking your cylinder. If you don't check to make sure that it is on and fully charged, you're going to be out there and when that moment hits and you need your airbag and the batteries are dead. So make sure you have it fully charged with the extra batteries in it.
Yeah. Hey, Cade, a quick question. Travis from Canada is asking, is that a bigger balloon on that pack versus, say, the BCA one on the wall behind you? Is the volume of the pillow, the bag, any bigger on those versus others?
No, so I was researching that just before the call. I thought that question might come up. They're all about 150 of airbag capacity, and one thing, 150 liters seems to do the trick. If you had a 200-liter airbag, it's not really going to be any more effective or less effective. So, they're all about 150 liters, about the same size airbag.
Yeah, and how long last if that backpack is capacitors charged, AA batteries are in there? How long does it hold a charge? Do you have to recharge it every week or every couple weeks or like?
Yeah, that we left it sitting here all week long, and it stayed charged. So without the batteries in there, I think it lasted about a day. But that's a really good question. I'll have to research that and get back. I'm not sure how long it'll last fully charged with the batteries in there.
No worries.
And then the climb packs, I mean, they've been extremely popular this year. and limited quantities. I mean, we do have a few left, but they're going to be sold out really. So if you've been wanting to climb airbag, you might not want to wait.
Exactly. Recommend or not using rechargeable batteries or lithium batteries like the AA's. Is it alkaline only like in a beacon, or is that not matter?
Yeah, that's not it. That's not the same situation. Any type of AA batteries will work in there just to keep that capacitor topped off.
Perfect. On airbag.
Not unless there's any other questions you've got out there. Again, it's comfort and what fits your style. If you're going to be flying a lot, I don't know if maybe you leave your sleds in Cook City and fly from Minnesota or whatever. You probably don't want an airbag that has a canister unless you're just going to leave your canisters where you ride. Maybe go with a battery-powered one.
Yeah, there's a lot of manufacturers. That's why you guys are all in business. So, you really can't go wrong. It's just finding the right one for you. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, quick time check. We're at 45 minutes into the show now. So roughly, if we could try to get through, stuff within the next 20, 25 minutes or so would be awesome. But we really don't have a specific time limit. I just don't want to go too long and bore the heck out of people if we don't have to. But great content, great information. Don't take that as a negative. I just, don't want it to go too long tonight. So. No,
I get it. And I'll breeze pretty quick through the beacons. Just, kind of touch on them real quick. A couple features you want to look for and be familiar with. So we still have these. The BCA Tracker 2, Tracker DTS. This is kind of the first digital beacon out there. It is only a 2 antenna beacon. I wouldn't say it's obsolete, but it's getting there. All the technology has moved on to a 3 antenna beacon now. So a 2 antenna beacon, it's a digital beacon. It'll point you which direction the victim might be and how far away they are. Because it's missing a 3rd antenna, it's not going to be quite as quick, and we can get really detailed, but it will stop receiving a signal when it jumps between flux lines. So if you want to Google homework, you can go research flux lines.
Sounds good. I've classes recommending 3 antenna digital and specifically calling that one out as a one that you kind of want to move away from. So if you're in the market of buying a new one now, unless it's really cost and price is the biggest issue you have, then you probably want to go to at least what you're going to show us next, if not some of the other ones. So.
Yeah, I mean, this would still be great. Say you're out riding with your kid, it transmits the same. All the beacons are transmitting on 1 antenna, and so it's the search feature that's a little different with a 2 antenna. But there's a 3 antenna beacon. It's the BCA Tracker 2. The Tracker 2 is probably the easiest, simplest beacon out there to search. You pull the search button and go. It's really, I don't want to say, but it's idiot proof. You cannot mess up with the Tracker 2. Where things get a little bit tricky now is if you have multiple burials. The Tracker 2 is not great with multiple burials. You can do it. It takes a little practice. Some of the newer 3 antenna beacons are going to be a lot better for multiple burials.
Sounds good. Using the for a long time. Most of the beacons I still have are the Tracker 2s, and then the Tracker 3. I just picked up a couple of them the other year and have been using those now as well. So.
Yeah, so the Tracker 3, very, very slick beacon in gray. It's our most popular beacon right now. The Tracker 3, it's a digital antenna beacon, 3 antenna beacon, and it has a suppress feature. So there's a button on here. So where this one shines over the Tracker 2, or especially the Tracker DTS, is in a multiple situation. So say, John, you and I, and we'll Zach, our buddy Zach, we're out riding. Two people get buried. Once I find one person, I can push this suppress signal. So that's going to now ignore your signal, John, and I can move on to Zach's or the next person who's buried. So for a multiple burial situation, the Tracker 3 is awesome. Thanks. One thing BCA did this year, the brand new beacon they just released is called the Tracker S. It looks almost identical to the Tracker 3, but it comes better price. The only difference, if you're trying to decide between the Tracker 3 and the Tracker S, which is for simplicity, the Tracker S is missing 2 minute features. It does not have a USB port to be able to do the software upgrade, which Nobody really upgrades the software on their beacon anyway. And then it does not have a motion sensor. So there's an auto revert feature that will take a beacon from search mode back to transmit mode based on motionless, if you're motionless or not. So they took that out. They took those two features out of the Tracker S and made it at a better price. So the Tracker 3 and the Tracker S, very, very, very similar. Multiple burials, they shine.
Nice. Is the difference where the power and the search modes and everything are. So on the Tracker 2, you have a separate power switch on the back that is on and off, so you can't mess that up. It's either on or it's off. You've got it figured out. And your search mode is a separate button too. You pull it down, it's there. And idiot proof. Just to prove the point of idiot proof it is now you get a guy like me thinking I know a bunch of stuff, but I'm out there just like everybody else, real world. At least 2 times in the last 2 years, I have accidentally on the Tracker 3s, the switch is all in the same switch. You've got transmit and you got search all in the same set of switches, right? And I have done a beacon check in the morning, made sure everything works, and gone to put it back into transmit, and unbeknownst to me, accidentally switched it to off and put it away.
Yeah. So that's just a heads up thing, and good for you for doing beacon checks. That's something we do every ride as we go out, and everybody's got their beacon on. You ask them, and then just to double check instead of not just asking them, but we get our beacons out. Check is he beeping? Is he beeping? Is he beeping? Yes.
Yeah. So it's got a bunch, but every device is different and has its pros and cons, and I love both of them, honestly. Like I still ride with the Tracker 3 most of the time because it's smaller, lighter, has the suppress feature, so it's a better beacon for what I like. But that Tracker 2 really is idiot proof for someone who doesn't have a lot of training with them. So
yeah, it is. I love the Tracker 2, and if single barrel, it's going to be just as fast as these other beacons. Yep. A couple other beacons here. The Peeps Pro and the Peeps Powder is called the BT. BT stands for Bluetooth. What I can actually do with these beacons, you can Bluetooth it to your phone. You can set up different training scenarios. So you could go bury different Peeps beacons around the yard, turn some on, turn some off, change which antenna it's transmitting on. You can even upgrade the Peeps software using the Peeps app from your iPhone. Just via Bluetooth, you can upgrade the beacon. So the Peeps is great. It also has the suppress feature, similar to the Tracker 3, the Tracker S. You can suppress and then move on to the next person.
Nice.
So just to recap on beacons, me personally, I would look for a 3 antenna beacon. And then if you're going to practice with it and get some extra bells and whistles, you can go the Tracker 3. Really, the Tracker S and the Tracker 2 are going to be great options for you for beacon.
Cool. Well, if that's all the beacons, so what do you want to do next? You want to do shovels or probes?
Probes. I'm going to go with a shovel really quick.
Sounds good.
Okay, so carry a shovel with you. That is not, you're not going to dig very, very deep with your hands if your buddy gets caught in an avalanche. So a couple things. The weak point on a shovel is where the handle attaches to the blade. So you're going to want to make sure it's not got a long neck that you're going to break the shovel. And don't go with one of the super cheap shovels out there. The $20 shovels. They're just going to break, and you don't have that happening. So really, the length of the handle doesn't matter a whole lot. You're going to be down on your kneeling down or down in the powder. So the length of the handle I haven't found as big of an issue as the size of the blade. Get a shovel you're going to be able to move a lot of snow with. Now there's a ton of features that can come with a shovel. There's just a basic shovel with an extension handle. It's a shovel. Yep. So here's a smaller shovel. Fits really nice for a secondary shovel. You can put it in your tonneau bag, in your backpack. But you'll never lose your handle. We had people come into the shop here asking for, hey, can I buy a handle for my shovel? I lost my handle. It fell out of my tonneau bag. The handle is just integrated into this shovel. Pop it out, ready to dig. So that's a deploy It's a Black Diamond deploy shovel. Our most popular shovel this year is the Backcountry Access Dozer shovel. So it has just a normal shovel mode, or if you really want to get serious about moving snow, you put it into the hoe mode. So you have a lot more snow by chopping and pulling than just by scooping and throwing. So, and then one other thing about this shovel, let's see if I can find it here, is in case you get stuck or you get in trouble somewhere, there's a saw that comes in the handle of the shovel.
Have those saws been in it long? I own that thing, and I didn't know there was a saw in it.
So no, I believe last year is the year they released it with the saw in it. So the new dozers, if you're looking around, it's called the dozer with the saw.
Sounds good.
So,
my personal experience, I've got a couple of dozer shovels, and they are currently my favorite shovel as well. But one thing I'll just point out to people is that, you know, the hoe feature works great in snow, right? Like if you're digging your sled out and you're stuck and that kind of stuff, or you're just trying to dig a snow pit or something where you don't have stuff that's already been disturbed in an avalanche, then the hoe feature works extremely well. But I'll just call out, if you're going through avalanche training and you're going to go out and dig in some really hard, crunchy snow, the hoe feature will do you no good. And so just be conscious of that. You know, you may not want to just go into the hoe feature and start to know if your buddy is buried, because that snow might be concrete and you might be busting your shovel because you're trying to torque on it or twist it with that thing, and that snow just won't move. But you just got to just judge on how hard that snow is. Sometimes you're better off putting it in the regular mode and then kind of chiseling in and kind of chopping the snow up and then shoveling it out, where that hoe feature makes it. So that's been my personal experience, but I don't know if you have any additional comments there, Cade.
No, I agree with you. And I think shoveling is something that people overlook a lot. Everybody's always focused on, oh, let's do the beacon search and then get your probes and find them. But shoveling is what's going to take the most amount of time. So, you know, I would get with your buddies and, you know, practice shoveling, you know, put a different scenario together and see how long it actually takes you to move. You know, say somebody's buried 4 feet down. That's a lot of snow to move in a really short amount of time. You're going to have to get to that person in less than 15 minutes. So Backcountry Access has some great shoveling technique illustrations on, you know, how to shovel with multiple people. So I would spend time shoveling and practicing, because that's going to take the most amount of time.
Yeah, and any avalanche class out on snow, my experience has been that they do go into shoveling techniques and best practices there too, whether it be a level 1 or just a 1-day basic class. But if you're out on the snow, a good instructor will teach you the shoveling methods. So
yeah. So, and then probes are pretty basic. You just want to get a probe that is not going to break on you. And I would say get one that's probably at least the bare minimum 40 centimeters. Everybody's like, centimeters. Why do they make them in centimeters? I don't know. But get one that's about 8 feet long at least, because you're going to want to probe 6 feet deep. If you have a 6-foot probe, that means every time you probe, you're bending all the way down to the ground and back up. If you have a little bit longer, you don't need to waste that extra energy probing all the way down. So
it'll fit in your backpack. Is my attitude too. And you know, I think 280 to 300 centimeters is some of the bigger ones out there. And you know, when you're in a class and you're doing training, and it becomes very obvious very quickly, the longer ones are, you know, pretty significant. And the other thing I'll show you too that I've learned in some of my avalanche classes, Cade, is that if you have a riding group and you guys ride very consistently all together, you know, say there's half a dozen of you guys, it actually is semi-important to have all very similar length probes, because if you're doing a probe line and you get to that point where you have to do a probe line, you know, if one person's got a probe that's super short, it's going to be sticking in the snow different. Whereas if you do a probe line, the exact same length of probes, now you can kind of visually look at the probes and see, like, okay, is one way deeper than the other? Did I find something? Did I strike something? Or is it that I have a short probe? So it's a really subtle thing, but it was actually something that came up in quite a few training classes that was a good best practice I thought I'd share.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So really quick, I know we're really short on time now.
Doing perfect.
So I just want to talk about group communication. You don't have to go with the BCA radios, but we found that the BCA radios have worked great. They have the original BC Link radio, and then now they have the BC Link radio 2.0. Some of the features the differences between them, they have upgraded higher power on the 2.0, so a little bit extended range.
Okay.
They fixed it. One of the features on the 1.0, people are noticing the channel would change. As you're riding, you might bump the channel selector. So they've recessed it now on the 2.0. So they've recessed the channel selector on the 2.0 so that it doesn't get changed quite as easily. So people say, well, I have a Garmin radio. I'll just leave it in my backpack. I thought the same thing for quite a while. The thing is, the only time I ever use it is if somebody's stuck and nobody else has their radio out. So with the BCA radios, you actually put the radio unit in your backpack, and then you connect the radio onto your shoulder strap. It is loud enough you can hear it if you're riding. You might not be able to hear what they're saying if you're driving, but you can stop. Somebody's trying to get a hold of you. It's been great when buddies are stuck in the trees somewhere and we got to find out where they're at. Just group communication is so important out riding.
Yeah, no, and I that's what I'm. Radios is probably biggest things that has literally changed riding for me and everybody I'm with is out here in our club rides and stuff we do, it's almost we require a beacon shelter probe and then quote unquote highly recommend a radio, right? And they have one little limit, because there's nothing worse than someone going around the corner getting lost and stuck, and now we can't get a hold of them, we don't know where they're at. You end up wasting part of your day, if not a big part of your day, looking for somebody. Whereas if you had a radio, it's just quick and easy. You just chirp in. And then just dynamics and communication, like, hey guys, we're getting close to an avalanche zone here. Let's spread out, right? You can just do a quick call on the radio without having to pull everybody 100% all together. So radios are huge. It really will change the way you ride if you don't already use them. So
yeah. So other than that, I don't know if there's any other questions out there. But we take all this stuff. This is kind of our bread and butter. This is what we've been doing the longest. So if you go to Heydays or the Denver Snowmobile Show, or we'll be at the Jackson Hole Hill Climbs coming up in March. You can come and check all this stuff out.
Yeah, so got a lot of good questions tonight. I'll just throw it out there. Anybody else, if you've got questions, really quickly type them in the chat box, and we're happy to answer any questions you have on any of the stuff we talked about. Or if there's other avalanche safety gear that you want to know more about, Cade can talk to you here. But Travis is saying, okay, so a radio or InReach Rhino. So I'll just get my sense on that and go from there. But each device is different, right? So, a BCA radio or any radio, again, I think I made this clear, is there's a lot of radios out there, but do some testing. Some have more range, some are quieter, the microphone. I've tested a few different ones too, and the BCAs, at least of the ones I've tested so far, are pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with them. Some of the other ones I find they're either quiet or they don't have the same range, but there's a lot of them out there I haven't tested yet too. So, but InReach, right? So an InReach is really a satellite communication device, really designed for not communicating amongst your group, but communicating with the outside world, right? And so, I can from the mountain text somebody back home or my mom and dad, and hey, we're having trouble, we're running late, whatever it is, we can let somebody know that we're running late without it being an emergency. But if there is an emergency, we can also hit the SOS button, and now search and rescue can come and find us, giving us their GPS location and everything with all their communications. And so the InReach is a critical tool, if not a Spot. Spot has a very similar product as well. InReach and Spot now both, you can do fly communication. But then the Garmin's and or the Rhinos, right? So there you have a radio and a GPS unit. My experience with them is that they're not clear. Like I've been with guys with BCAs and the Rhinos, and the Rhinos usually they sound really garbled and mobile, so the radio is kind of at best okay. One advantage to those Rhinos though is that you can share locations between the different Rhinos, and you can actually pinpoint and locate somebody who's maybe lost in the woods. Which is a handy feature. So each one is unique and different, and I don't know that any one replaces the other. But for me, I ride with a radio and an InReach, on top of all the avalanche safety gear. So I use both. So, anything you want to add there, quick? Otherwise, there's more questions coming in. I'll keep going here if you want. If you have something you want to add, though, I'll let you, Cade.
No, I agree. I used to ride with the Garmin Rhino, and then I switched to the BCA radio. the biggest feature is just having that transmitter, the speaker, and the microphone right there in my shoulder strap. I end up using the radio more than I did when I had the Garmin Rhino. And then I ride with a satellite phone. I have a satellite phone in my pack. That way, if there's something happens, I can make a phone call and from anywhere.
Well, if nothing else, you can.
Yeah, when I get home.
No, just out of the mountain. Tell them they got to deliver it on the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Cool. So the next question is one that I feel comfortable kind of addressing too, and I'll turn it over to you afterwards. Is do these other devices conflict with your beacon? And I personally, about a year ago, did my own testing that I've done. I've heard other people do testing and they've tried it, and I've heard things, and I would tell you that the testing that I did personally was very consistent with everything that I had heard. And here's what I've learned is that a beacon in transmit mode, if you have a Garmin on, or a GPS unit on, or an inReach on, or even your cell phone to some degree, if you have your beacon in transmit mode, there's not a ton of interference in that situation because the signal's going, right? But as soon as you switch your beacon over to search mode, that's when the interference becomes critical. That's where you have to remove interference from all of these out there. And I think in the manufacturer's recommendations on most of the beacons and most of these other devices, you have to separate them by about 18 inches. So for example, if you had an inReach in your backpack or a radio in your backpack and you have your beacon at your arm length out in front of you, you probably have mitigated most of the interference. But frankly, in that situation, I would try to mitigate 100% of the interference and shut off all of that stuff, or set it on your sled and then walk away from your sled, that type of thing. So with the testing I've done, there absolutely is interference from most of the devices, especially devices that have some kind of a GPS communication with them. And cell phones are a big one as well too. Even in airplane mode, the cell phones will still interfere in the search mode if you have a beacon and a cell phone or like that side by side. But again, you separate it by about 1.5 feet, 2 foot, the interference becomes dramatically less, if not almost none. So you've done testing, professional stuff too, but that was my own experience test that we did.
Yeah, so we've had the same experience there. We've also even had interference. We tried to search an avalanche debris field on our snowmobiles. You switch the beacon to search mode even on your snowmobile, and you get interference off of your snowmobile. So if you're gonna do a beacon search, get off your snowmobile, get away from that interference.
Yep, absolutely. So there's training videos out there too on that specific topic, and for the actual searching with the beacon, absolutely get off your sled. But the nice part about having a sled is you can quickly go from point A to point B to get closer to that search zone.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I just make sure people don't get confused there. As if you're a quarter mile away and you see an avalanche, don't feel like you got to get off your sled and hike a quarter mile, right? You'll never get there in time.
Yeah, get to that last scene point here.
To that last point scene with your snowmobile, get off your sled, walk away from it at least about 6 feet, and then you can start doing your beacon search, and you can pick up a signal then. So cool. That's all the questions that have come in. Any final comments from you, Cade, or no?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to join the Jon Ferrian Live Large here. I hope everybody stays safe. January is typically a pretty deadly month for avalanches, and so just be smart, live to ride another day. Just recognize that terrain, get the education first, and then questions, give us a call. We're happy to talk through specific questions on the phone, or you can go to our website and read up on some stuff there at outtosnowbigdeal.com.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm excited that Cade, we've arranged for me and some folks from Washington here to come out and connect with you and to hang out with you guys in late March. And so I'm coming out and going to be riding with you. I think it's the last week of March, roughly. We're going to be up there enjoying some beautiful champagne powder because you are going to order perfect snow conditions for when we're there, right?
Absolutely. Utah's got the greatest snow on earth, and we ordered up a special snowstorm for the end of March.
Exactly. A little action out there. We'll be doing some videos and stuff out there too. I'll have to see. I don't think we're going to be there over a Sunday. We probably won't be able to do a show there, but we might do a couple of short, just fun lives while we're out there if we got cell phone signal. But we're staying up in the mountains, at your guys' cabin up there. So I'm super stoked for that. And I know the guys that are coming with are excited as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, just as a reminder, guys, if you watched the show this far, really appreciate you taking the time to watch. don't forget to share the show out, guys. This is not, it's not only about the share and win and getting in on the shirt and the fly gear and all that stuff, but it's really about the education and the training that we need to share with the rest of our snowmobile community. And to have someone like Cade Beck come on here and just his Sunday evening when he could be at home with his family, his kids, and his wife. I'm grateful for you coming on, Cade, and just tell everybody, live large, right? Live life to the fullest, make the most of every day. God bless everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody.
All right, talk to you.